What up, coders? In today's video, we're answering the question of how to remove one of n characters in a string in Python. So without further ado, the variable that we're going to start out and removing stuff from is going to be this sentence right here. This is an example sentence with repeating characters in a word, and the goal is to remove the letter A. Now, let's go over a review real quickly from a previous video, a couple things that you can do to remove characters from a string in Python. All right, so in my previous video, what I talked about is essentially to replace a character or remove a character from a string. Essentially, you can use the replace method or the string replace method. And I'm just going to come down here and say new underscore sentence one, because we're going to do a couple of these, is equal to, and then sentence dot replace, and then like we mentioned, we're going to replace the character A, which is in this variable here, and then we want to replace it, so we're just going to give it an empty string. So now, if I run this, what does this print out? Well, just like what I mentioned in, I'm just going to remove this like that. And like I mentioned in my previous video, what happens is the replace method removes everything in the whole string. So in our example, it removed like you can see, it removed this A. It removed this A that was in repeating, both the A's that were characters. So what if we only want to remove one A? Well, what can we do? So that's what we're going to talk about right now. So to only replace one character, essentially what you can do is reuse the replace method, but look what happens. If I hover over this, it's going to show me that I can give it a count of what index I want to do. And if I read down here, the count is the maximum number of occurrences to replace. -1, the default means give everything. So by default, -1 goes into this, and that means we're going to replace everything, right? So what happens then, if we just take this, we'll copy this one right here, and we'll come down here and say, this is my new string dot to. Again, we're going to remove the char, which is an A, and then I'm going to replace this there, but then I'm also going to add a 1. Let's just do 1 and see what happens, right? So if I run this, what you'll see is that we get our original sentence. This is an example sentence, repeating characters. The sentence 1, which removed everything. But then look at this, sentence 2, the A from the and is still missing. But if you go back through everything else, that A is still there, that A is still there. All those different A's are still there. So basically, when you put in a 1, it only removes the first A, or the first character that you're trying to remove. It only removes that one. Now, if I come down here, I come down here and let's do, just to show this, let's do, move that. And we'll change this to a 2. What do you think will happen? Well, what it should happen is, if we read that right, it should remove the maximum number of occurrences that we put in. So we put in a 2 here. We're essentially going to get, it's going to remove this A, and it's going to remove that A, and every other A in this sentence gets untouched. So basically what the replace method is doing is it's starting from index 0 and then just going until it sees the first occurrences. And if you say, I only want to remove 1, it says, oh, I found it, I found the letter, then I'm done. I just remove that and return the rest of this string. So what happens though if we want to do, start from the backside? Can we get words, or can we get remove characters starting from the backside of repeat? Well, or with the replace. So let's talk about that next. All right. So in previous videos I've done, when I've talked about like going from the, replacing stuff from the back or doing anything like that, like if I mess with lists or strings in previous videos, what you've probably seen me do is use some sort of syntax like a negative value, right? But if we run this with the negative value, or a -1 in this case, if we recall back to the documentation, -1 removes everything. So if I pass in a -1, you'll see that all the A's again have been removed. But what happens though if we put in a -2? Does this keep going? Or does this do everything, or does it do only a certain characters? And then you can see basically anything that is negative, it returns, in this case, it returns all of them being removed. So again, how do we go about removing from the reverse? And that's kind of what I wanted to, I just want to show this really quick, because I want to show you that in this case, like putting in a negative number doesn't really help you in this, in the sense of trying to reverse from the back. So what can you do? So from this last demonstration, we've learned that technically you can't use replace to go, like you can do something with like R split or everything where it starts from the back and goes to the end, because replace will always go from index 0 all the way to the end and only do the number of occurrences. If you put in a negative, it basically just does everything, right? So can you use it? Technically, no. However, there are tricks that you can use to use it. And what I mean by that is, for example, if say that we take this whole thing, we'll take this setup, and we'll say that this is sentence 5. And what we'll do is, so if I know that replace only goes from index 0 to the end, but I need to remove the last character that I find in this sentence, what I can technically do is reverse this whole sentence, use replace, and I can pass in I only want to do one. Use replace and then reverse it back. What the heck does that mean, Zach? What are you talking about? Well, what I mean is so there's a syntax where you can do colon or bracket colon -1. This will reverse the sentence. Now, what the heck are you talking about? Well, if I do this, we'll say reversed is equal to, and I'll make this an F string so I can put this in here. And if I run this, we'll take this one off really quick. If I run this, what you'll see is it's now reversed. Like it is completely flopped, right? So what that means now is if I reverse this and I now do replace and I call replace, what that is going to do is start from index 0, go until it finds the first character. In our case, it's an A. And it's going to remove that A, and then it says, oh, there it is, gone, remove it, and then it's going to return back. Now, if I run this, what you'll see is that it's still reversed though, right? So we remove that A, but it's still reversed, and Zach, I can't read in reverse, right? Well, I mean, some people probably can, but I'd have a hard time doing it. So, well, what do? Well, we go back and we re-reverse the new string that it created, because what happens here is we reversed it, we did replace, and now we need to reverse it back. So I can just tack on the end of this replace, I can tack on another colon dash negative. And if I rerun this, just like that, it's been flipped back over to my original sentence, and now that A is removed. So that is technically how you can use replace. And now we could do this with, again, we can say we want to remove the last two characters. So you'll see that if I run this, I removed the A that was here. So there's the A, and then the next A is right there in characters, and that's been removed. So that is how you can use reverse to remove, forward and backwards, essentially one of n number of characters. But again, that gets tricky because of the fact that I am having to do string manipulation and essentially reverse strings and all that stuff. But that's okay. That is a method to do it, and that's why it's good and helpful to know that you can do these things and their roles with their different functions like replace to get basically the result that you want. So now let's talk about, okay, I have this whole sentence, but I only want to remove, I need to remove one, A within one of these words. What would I do? So like I mentioned, what I want to talk about now is basically if I was given this original sentence and I only needed to say replace the second or the first A in this word characters over here, how would I do this, right? And this is one of the questions that was asked by one of the viewers of my old video on how to remove characters from a string in Python. And essentially, I just kind of want to break down the thought process that I might do, which there's probably multiple. Again, I've gone over how to remove one of every characters, but I really only gone over one function currently that you can use to do this with. And because there's several more, and I'll create another video where I talk about other methods that you could do this with. But essentially, if I was going to go through this whole list or this whole string and say, or this whole sentence and say, let's fix characters to have only the second one there. Let's just say that. Essentially, what I would do is, what I would approach this is I could split this whole thing, this whole sentence, into a list of words, and then loop through that words, find the one I need to fix it, and then essentially put the sentence back together. That's kind of one method to do this, and I kind of want to go over that. So how would you do that? Well, essentially, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say words is equal to sentence dot split, and I'm going to split on basically just a single space. So now if I print this, you'll see that words will be just everything split up into a list of words. And just like that, there it is. This is an example. All of them are in, all the words are together or are individually split up. So now, let's loop through that. So I'm going to say my new sentence. We'll do new sentence 6 is equal to basically this empty string. So I'm going to loop through for word in words. Basically, I want to say if word is equal to word to fix, which in our case we said characters. Then what I want to do is say word is equal to word dot replace. and I want to say character to remove, which in our case is the letter A, and I just want to say remove it, and then just remove only the first one, right? I only want to take away one. Then what we can do is we come out of this if, and then we just say new sentence 6 plus equals, and now if I just put word, what you're going to end up with, let's just show this, new sentence 6, and we will wrap this in an F string, and then put the little thing so it can show. All right, so if I rerun all this, what you'll see is that new sentence 6 gets all smashed together, right? And that's not essentially what we want. So what we could do is do something like this, word plus a space, and then we end up with, this extra space at the end, which maybe that's not what we want. Or you could just do something like, we just say new sentence 6 is a list, and we just append. So we take this out and we'll just do append, and then we will do word. Now you're like, Zach, I'm trying to create a sentence, a string sentence, not basically another list with our updated characters. Because essentially you'll see that, hey, look, there's our sentence. Character is removed. Like I took out that first A that was between the H and the R. That's been removed. But now I need this back to my string. Well, what you can do here is then when you say come out of this new thing, you can say new sentence 6. Rather than being a list, I'm going to rechange it to basically be using the join method with a string. I can pass in a list, and guess what will happen? Basically, it'll go through, and each one of those words, it'll put the word in and then put a space after, except for the last one. So I can rerun this, and I end up with, this is an example sentence. We're repeating characters in a word, with repeating characters in a word, but the A, that first A in characters has been removed. So just like that is a method that you can remove one of n number of characters in a string or in a sentence in Python, and then I also added a way that you can go through within a sentence, find the character or the word that you want to fix it with how you want to fix it, and then return it back. So if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below, and until next time, keep on coding.